Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a short version podcast talking all things Pittsburgh sports. Today is Wednesday, October 30th, and we're coming off of Fleury Fest last night at PPG Paints Arena. Just an awesome showing of appreciation from the Penguins and their fans towards some guy named Marc-Andre Fleury. He used to play here. I guess he was a goaltender. Seemed to be pretty beloved. Going to talk about him. Going to talk about some Penguins overarching stuff as well. Some thoughts that I had watching that game, and actually going to lead with Defensive Player of the Year candidacy for TJ Watt, the subject of my column earlier in the day yesterday, but just taking stock of his season and what's around. First, though, want to remind you that we're brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates. If you're injured in an accident, you're probably wondering what's next. For over 40 years, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped injury victims answer that question. Whether it's gathering evidence, collecting medical records, or dealing with insurance companies, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped over 75,000 people handle what's next. Call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. And remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. All right, so breaking. This just came across a few minutes ago, but TJ Watt is good at football. I know that's why you like and subscribe and check out all of the content on this podcast to hear such hot takes like that. No, all right, jokes aside, he's having an absolutely tremendous year. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year, and yesterday morning woke up thinking about this after his clutch performance Monday night. How can this not happen? This has to correct itself, right? And then I spent the morning kind of looking around at some other guys, some other candidates, thinking through things. And I don't feel any differently about it. I don't understand why he wouldn't be the guy. Now, there was obviously some snubbage last year. I don't think everybody agreed with that. And I think there's some competition. Run through those real quickly. Dexter Lawrence is probably the one that I've heard the most since tweeting the column and people who may or may not disagree. And that's fine. I understand that. Dexter Lawrence, 9 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. You saw, how, what's the word? Dominant, impactful, how much you have to account for him in all phases. That's great. It's fantastic. The Giants aren't very good. Will McDonald IV, also productive. 8 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. Can't really say much against them. Are the Jets going to be there at the end of the year? Is somebody really wrecking that many games if their team finishes with, 4 wins, 5 wins? I don't see it. And again, this is all, sort of taking what we've seen so far and assuming it's going to repeat itself. But if this sort of year continues for the Steelers, if this sort of year continues for TJ Watt, give me a break. I mean, it has to happen, right? Watt's numbers real quick, 6.5 sacks. I was looking at among guys with at least 5. Watt is second in solo tackles with 24 and tied for the top spot in total tackles. Tackles for loss has 10. That's second. And 4 forced fumbles. I don't know why in my notes I wrote down 10 forced fumbles. That would be quite impressive if he did that one. But in any case, the numbers are there. I don't need to tell you that. You're well aware. But if you look around, like Myles Garrett, no. Watt has vastly outperformed him. Max Crosby, no. Vastly outperformed him. I also look at those guys as part of the poor team syndrome. Will Anderson Jr., the Texans, maybe. There's a decent case there. 7.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. If you look at PFF, I know some people really agree with that stuff. Some people think it's hokey. I don't know. But pass rush grade, not very good. Again, I feel like that's one of those, let's step back and reevaluate what we're looking here. We're looking at TJ Watt versus Will Anderson Jr. Nothing against it. I know which way I would vote, which way I would lean. Nick Bosa, Khalil Mack, they're there. I don't know if I would really, really, really be struggling for an argument to put them ahead of TJ Watt. Aiden Hutchinson from Detroit might have been in there. He's out for the year. That's not gonna work. So at this point, I know it's, there are bigger fish to fry in Pittsburgh. There's more stuff to talk about with the team, the impact of Russell Wilson, the trade deadline, the offensive line, 6-2, the AFC North coming up in the second half, changing expectations of this team, the coach, the offensive coordinator, this, that, and the other. It's not a terribly controversial topic because he's so good, because he's so dominant. But it doesn't mean we should ignore it. And I mean that in Pittsburgh and the rest of the NFL. Mike Tomlin put it really well after the game. I thought I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it it happens, but it doesn't mean it's underappreciated. Something to that effect. Like, I've seen it, but it doesn't mean it's underappreciated. And it's kind of where we're at. Sifting through some other stuff while researching this, Yins might find this interesting. But the numbers behind Watt, and these are in my column as well. 57 sacks in the second half or overtime since 2017. Also the most in the NFL. 31 forced fumbles. They lead all active players. And shout out to Mike Birch from the Steelers, too, who does an awesome job researching this stuff. But he leads the NFL in sacks with 103, quarterback hits, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries since 2017. He's only second in tackles for loss. I mean, Watt has had, again, breaking news. He's been very good. I'd like to see him get rewarded for it. It's kind of crazy that he's only won one Defensive Player of the Year award. All right, so I have some Penguin stuff I want to get into on the other side, including that Fleury guy. But first, a message from the Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
Welcome back to First 10. I'm your host, Jason Mackey. We're here every weekday, middle of the morning for about 10 minutes, bouncing around, talking about some different things. Thank you very much for finding us. Switching gears to Penguins, they lost 5-3 to the Minnesota Wild last night. That's 6 in a row. They're 0-5-1. During that stretch, the good part of the evening, while the Penguins had a 2-0 lead, which they blew, but the Fleury stuff was really well done all around by fans. I know I'm walking down Center Avenue, and fans, normally you have a little bit of line when I get there, but it is snaked all the way down to Washington Place around the building. The entrance on Fifth Avenue is just jammed. People are there wanting to see Fleury, wanting to get good seats for warm-ups and all that stuff. You saw so many different jerseys. The Penguins did an awesome job with how he was introduced. The video in the first period, actual flowers on the main concourse. Crosby, Letang, Malkin clearly took this differently. I should say had sort of a different emotional feel to this when you see them embracing Fleury before the game, hanging around with them after the game, just all of them soaking this in. And Fleury was funny, not looking at the video tribute, not wanting to cry. Also played a really good game, by the way. I was a little worried about that, knowing how much emotions can tend to get the best of Marc-Andre sometimes, but I thought he was pretty solid. My favorite sequence from Fleury came about 5 minutes into the second period. It was vintage Fleury, snow angel flopping around, athleticism everywhere. Stopped Anthony Beauvillier. There was a giant scrum in front, and then made a 10-bell save on Lars Eller. It was just really an impressive sequence. But okay, that's the good. There was also pretty good amount of bad. I mentioned blowing the 2-0 lead and just how the Penguins allowed the Wild to score. Man, it's getting old seeing this. It's concerning. There's a lot that's concerning with this team, and that was the subject of another column I wrote today, just worrying that, Fleury's not the only one we're waving goodbye to. Players, coaches, a competitive era, competent hockey, frame it how you want. But, when you're playing the way the Penguins have, things go away. And it needs to turn around. It's no longer, in my opinion, just like, it's a poor start, they'll snap out. I mean, obviously they need to snap out of it and turn things around, but are they just showing us who they are? And they might be. And, one of the things that really concerned me, this was at Mike Sullivan's press conference after the game, as they said to the guys before, we're going to defend our way out of this. We're not going to score our way out of it. That's what we're trying to work at. For me, it starts with the mindset, starts with an attitude. Your intentions need to be in the right place. Sullivan previously described, determining whether they're on offense or defense. Totally fair. Puck management, the decisions they make in their own zone, all of the. He's not wrong at all. But the message is not getting through. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're tuning him out and they're indifferent. Very possible. That's concerning. Maybe because the roster isn't good enough. Very possible. That's concerning. there could be several reasons why. One of them, Eric Carlson, was, again, last night, not good. On the season, he's a -7, leads the NHL in giveaways with 23, had 5 last night. And just, it's not what you want or need for $10 million. And I don't have a great feel on how Carlson feels about his game right now. He shouldn't feel great about his game right now. Nobody should feel great about their game. Look at the record. Look at what they've allowed. It's not acceptable to play this type of hockey. Yes, the Penguins do not have the firepower that they used to back in the day, back in 15, 16, 17, when this thing was really humming. They need to play a more conservative game. They need to do what Sullivan's talking about, handle the puck better, defend in their own zone better, make more fundamentally correct and safe decisions. They're not doing that. Until that turns around, it's going to be problematic. They're giving up a lot of chances, and they're giving up great ones. And how they get out of this is difficult. I wrote in my column, there's not much they can do. And I reread that this morning thinking, I wonder if that's going to sort of irritate people. And I don't know if it will or not, but what I was getting at there is you can't fire all the players. You can bring in a coach. Maybe that'll affect things. I don't know. Can you trade Carlson? No. Are you suddenly going to expect Joel Blomqvist to stand on his head? Probably not. Is there any guarantee Tristan Jarry comes back and fixes this? No. Do you have a bunch of extra cap space that you can go spend on somebody this offseason or, make some trades and bring in salary? No. So it's a tough spot. Mike Sullivan is right. They're going to have to defend their way out of it, but defending has been pretty darn hard thus far. They lead the NHL in goals allowed with 47. This stat killed me. They've given up at least 4 in 9 of their 11 games this season, including 7 straight. The last time they went longer, giving up 4+ goals, 2003, 2004. You likely remember how lousy that team was. So that's where we're at right now. They need to defend better. The Halloween game against the Ducks, this needs to get better in a hurry or, things aren't good and they need to change because this isn't the expectation. Even if they're not expected to compete for cups, they need to be better than they've been thus far. All right, that does it for me today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Appreciate it. As always, we'll be back here, same time, same place. And thanks for finding First 10, everybody.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.